Good morning, everyone. This is Mrs. Devaney here. Thank you so much for tuning in to watch my assembly today. In this assembly, I would like to talk about stress, what causes it and how we manage it, especially now during this very difficult third lockdown. So what is stress? Stress can be defined as a condition or a feeling experienced when a person perceives that the demands on that person exceed their personal and social resources at that moment in time. Dealing with stress has become such a talking point that there is even a National Stress Awareness Day. That's how serious stress is taken. We all know what it's like to feel stressed. Being under pressure is a normal part of life, but becoming overwhelmed by stress can lead to mental health problems or make existing problems feel even worse. A bridge analogy can be used to approach the topic of stress. When a bridge is carrying too much weight, it will eventually collapse. It is possible to see the warning signs before this happens. The bridge would bow, buckle, and creak. The same principle can be applied to human beings. With excessive demands and challenges placed on our bridges, there may be early warning signs. However, stress can creep up on some of us, resulting in feeling suddenly overwhelmed. At the moment, dealing with this, our third national lockdown, lots of us around the UK are experiencing high levels of stress, and it could actually be damaging our health. Some of the causes of stress are shown on this slide. Stress is one of the great public health challenges of our time. Stress is a significant factor in mental health problems, including anxiety and depression. It is also linked to physical health problems like heart disease, problems with our immune system, insomnia, and even digestive problems. Individually, we need to understand what is causing us our personal stress and learn what steps we can take to reduce it for ourselves and for those around us. Let's consider for a moment the top 4 causes of stress for us all during this lockdown. You may have different stresses, but these, I think, are the top 4 for young people at present. Number 1, missing your friends. Yes, of course you can keep in touch via social media, FaceTime, gaming, telephone, etc. But nothing quite beats a hug from a friend or being able to chat face to face. Number 2, being stuck inside the house. We all know why we have to abide by the government rules, and we know that in the end, it will keep us all safe. And if we do stick to the rules, it will mean getting out of this lockdown sooner. But that doesn't mean we have to like it. Thirdly, arguments with family. There was a study recently in the Telegraph that reported that families usually spend about 49 minutes a day arguing. The stress of lockdown can certainly exacerbate this. It is important to remember 2 things here. Your family love you, but it's okay to admit that they're getting on your nerves and you need some time out from them. Before you think things are about to boil over because you haven't made your bed for the 10th day in a row, try to step away from the situation politely and calmly. And finally, online learning. I have been unbelievably impressed by the efforts and the commitment to learning that I have seen in my lessons and in the student hubs at school. It is important to remember that you will never get into trouble with your teachers if you are trying your best. Glitches with Wi-Fi are utterly out of your control, but you must communicate with your teachers if you are experiencing any problems. We are here to support you. It is important to acknowledge that some stress is unavoidable. Stress can attack the weakest part of our character. If you are prone to headaches, this could in fact flare up. If you have low levels of patience or tolerance for others, this will be the first area to present under times of stress. Stress isn't avoidable, but it is certainly manageable. To minimize stress, it is important to identify stress-related problems as early as possible so that you can act. In 2002, this diagram and explanation of the stress bucket was introduced. The model works on the basis that we all have a stress bucket and the size of the bucket is different for everyone. If our stress bucket overflows, we potentially enter fight, flight, or freeze mode. Stress can also cause our brain to flood with a chemical called dopamine. The result is that stressed people cannot think clearly and generally do not make the best decisions. Another potential consequence of stress bucket overflow is snapping, which is when we say or do things in the heat of the moment that we aren't proud of and we wish we could take back. This can have a negative impact on our friendships and relationships. What healthy people have in their stress bucket is a tap. This is a relaxing or endorphin-producing activity that they use on a regular basis and that allows stress to drain out of their bucket, meaning that it never gets to the point of overflow. Creating an effective tap on the stress bucket involves identifying activities that provide both distraction and endorphin production. Exercise is an obvious and healthy way to create endorphins. A tennis match between good friends is a great stress bucket emptying activity. I am not particularly good at sports, and I'm certainly no fitness expert. But I have loved swimming since I was very young, and I used to compete as a teenager. I was never good in competitions because I wasn't that competitive. As I got older, and in particular if I was revising for exams, I realized for me that the stress bucket emptying activity, the best stress bucket emptying activity, was to swim alone for pleasure for an hour or so. Sadly, at the moment, the pools are shut, but going for a walk in the woods near where I live, or listening to music certainly lifts my spirits, and that quiet time helps me to get my thoughts and worries into perspective. The arts. Improved mood can also be achieved through music, drawing, painting, craft, creative writing, and dance. Art therapy is actually often used alongside more traditional methods to help the recovery of people with mental illness. Art and music are often more effective ways of articulating complicated emotions. They represent a way to be heard and understood. We tend to associate mindfulness with meditation, and that is certainly one way it can be achieved. However, the term mindfulness is a description of a headspace where a person is neither dwelling on the past nor worrying about the future. It doesn't mean that you have no thoughts at all, but that you are processing your thoughts in a healthy way. Sleep. Getting the right amount of good quality sleep is absolutely crucial to good mental health. Children need on average a good 8 to 9 hours sleep. Both too little and too much sleep can disturb our equilibrium. Sleep is when our nerve cells refresh themselves. They cannot do this whilst we are awake. So if you are tired, you essentially have a cluttered mind. In terms of learning, sleep is when information is downloaded into our long-term memory banks. That's why it's generally better to get a good night's sleep before an exam than to spend all night before cramming. The enemy of sleep is overstimulation. In most recent years, this has come from technology. Phones and tablets emitting blue light, which in turn suppresses our development of melatonin, a hormone we need to drift off to sleep. It is recommended we do not interact with any kind of technology, even the TV, for 2 hours before bed. Some devices have an option to switch off the blue light. Check if yours has this. The importance of self-care in both recovery and maintenance of good mental health is essential. A daily practice of taking time out of your everyday life to look after your mind, body, spirit, and soul is self-care. You may already be practicing self-care without realizing. I tend to wake up a little earlier than is necessary because I like to potter around in the house in the morning and enjoy the quiet with a cup of coffee with my cat. This, for me, represents a period of peace and stillness before the mayhem and madness of the school day kicks in. And after a busy day at school, I tune into Sarah Cox on the radio on the way home. She always makes me laugh out loud. You should never feel guilty about taking time out for yourself. Taking good care of yourself benefits you and those around you. What else could you do to raise awareness and support? Talk about stress and its effects. Let's work together to reduce the stigma that is associated with stress by talking about the topic openly and freely with friends, family, and our wider community. Share your coping mechanisms. If something has worked for you, why not share it? It might benefit someone that you really care about. Be kind to those who are stressed and anxious. We are all undoubtedly going to experience stress and anxiety in our lifetime. So treat others going through it with compassion and empathy. Look after yourself. Take time out of your day to relax or do something that you enjoy. Don't forget to exercise and eat well, even when you feel too stressed. The most crucial thing that you can do when you are stressed or anxious is to make sure that you are looking after yourself. Make time to relax when you need to, and learn to say no to requests that are too much for you. I hope you have found this helpful. Thank you for listening, and have a great day.